All right, so we got a lot to talk about. Combine happened today. We had the podium stuff yesterday. Let's just jump right into it. We got the AR-15, the AR-15 stuff going crazy. Anthony Richardson, broad jump. Anthony Richardson, 40 time. Anthony Richardson, dissecting Casper the Ghost at safety, and Casper the Ghost at cornerback, and all of a sudden, Anthony Richardson is a popular name. He is the biggest combine hero. Welcome to the locker room. I'm Landry Locker, number one source for Texans daily digital content. Even my guy Parker McCollum, man. Parker McCollum, country singer, friend of the show. He's been on. I'm talking about Anthony Richardson. My dream right now. And if you feel different, put it in the comments. This is interactive. Subscribe, like, all that. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610. But I just simply said my dream is that someone trades up for Anthony Richardson at 1 so the Texans don't have to think about it. That's all I said. Said it on Twitter. You can see it right there. Parker McCollum then said, I want him bad. I want Anthony Richardson bad. I said, not you too, Parker. And then I had to leave the conversation because Brown Chubby Bear did what he does. He started like arguing with someone in my mentions. And I told BCB, I said, quit fly on the wall in me, man. Keep that argument between you and the guy. But the Anthony Richardson thing, I do think is funny. And that's where I want to start. And I'll get to the comments on the side. I'm sure a lot of you feel at least some type of way about Anthony Richardson. Got Texans cap in here. TJ asking about the wide receivers. We'll get to that a little bit later. But I want to start with Anthony Richardson and right on cue. BCB talking about we need to swing for the fences and draft AR-15. To which Cap says Bryce Young or nothing. I tend to agree with Cap. If you were talking about Anthony Richardson, what did you expect to see today? Like, what did Anthony Richardson do today that you didn't expect him to do? Because the actual performance and the actual play was poor. It was poor. Like, we can make excuses for it, and they can end up being reasons and not excuses. So we can, I'll say we can make we can talk about excuses / reasons for why Anthony Richardson didn't perform well at Florida, but they're there. But the reason, despite that we're still talking about Anthony Richardson is because he's a freak athlete. He's a freak athlete. Like that's what we're talking about. He's a freak athlete. Like, what did you expect to see from Anthony Richardson? Like, he threw the ball 80 yards. Like, who cares? He threw the ball in the air 80 yards. How often do you do that? That's, I mean, like, what are we saying? There was some inconsistency in the throwing too. But you saw the uncanny athleticism, and we saw he threw the ball 60 miles per hour, which is the second fastest all time. So if I ever go to a carnival and there's some loaded ass milk cartons and I want to get a big ass bear for my future daughter or maybe my fiance, I'll ask Anthony Richardson to throw it at the loaded ass milk cartons and he'll win me a teddy bear. What the hell does that got to do with playing football? How often are you? I mean, you can kind of tell that he's trying to throw it as hard as he effing can sometimes when you watch him at Florida. I mean, you can see that. So am I supposed to be surprised that he can throw the ball 60 miles per hour? No. And and there's a carnival. I've been to the Houston Rodeo twice now. I've walked by the carnival and I've said, you know what? That's a really nice big Tasmanian devil Looney Tune up there that I would really like to win. But you know what? I can't throw it fast enough because I just can't. So I'm just wasting money. So if the Texans decide to draft Anthony Richardson number 2, then maybe I'll just go ahead and Ask Anthony Richardson, because he's going to be in town, to go out there and throw it hard at those loaded milk cartons so I can win a damn bear. 60 miles per hour. Okay. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? All right. He had a 10.09 broad jump. That's a record. Awesome. Like, that's great. I don't know. Like, what was Aaron Rodgers' broad jump? What was Tom Brady's broad jump? What was Patrick Mahomes' broad jump? What was Justin Herbert's broad jump? Like, who cares? He had a nice broad jump. Great. That's awesome, man. He had an awesome broad jump. 45 vertical. That's a record for quarterbacks. Another record. So he's setting records. Awesome. Like, that's great. 40 and a half inch vertical. That's impressive. I think LeBron James vertical is 43. If you want to put that in perspective. The white dude who just won the dunk contest, McClung's, his is 43. So Anthony Richardson can jump as high as him. Great. And then he ran the 40 and 4.43, which is fourth all time. That's great. If he gets outside the pocket or whatever and he turns it up and he cranks it up, then it could be dangerous. But I don't understand, like, what we were expecting to see from Anthony Richardson that was, like, so surprising today. And I just think the fact that they're even talking about taking him in the first round is like respect to his athleticism. I mean, just the fact, like, for what he produced at Florida, just the fact we're even talking about him as a first round pick is great. But now we're trying to talk about him being better than Bryce Young and CJ. I mean, are y'all on crack? Are we serious? Because of a combine? Because he broad jumped and threw the football fast and a vertical leap? Went back and chunked the ball 70 yards? How many times does that happen? I mean, goodness gracious. That's all it took? Like, the Bryce Young body of work, the CJ Stroud body of work, I guess they had to broad jump more. I really want to, like, put the broad jumps of the best quarterbacks in the NFL up there and see what that matters. I had Brown Chubby Bear. I love Brown Chubby Bear. I know Brown Chubby Bear's argues with everyone, but Brown Chubby Bear just talks about the Texans all the time. So that's why I always talk about Brown Chubby Bear. People are like, he has stupid takes. I don't give a damn if he has good takes, bad takes. I just know that Brown Chubby Bear lives, breathes, eats talking Texans. More people need to do that. So I appreciate it. But he's telling me his broad jump. That's what it took for you to say the Texans need to take him at number 2, his broad jump? Wow. Wow. That's insane. His broad jump. My goodness. Sean Kane says this was a great day for Texans fans, especially if you like Bryce Young, because AR-15 and Stroud provide legit options to distract teams from jumping Houston for Young. I agree. That's my dream scenario. Someone goes up there and takes AR-15. Brian, I'm going to mark your comment. I'll get to the mark comments at the end. I'm going to try to keep them going based on topics. And subscribe, like, download the Odyssey app. Appreciate y'all for riding along. Hennessy Black. BY looks like a middle schooler out there, Landry. Sure. Doesn't play like one, though. Ryan asks, if Bryce is taking a number 1, then don't take a 2 QB till second. I can understand that. Now, all this Anthony Richardson talk, and we talk about combines, broad jumps, whatever the hell drill you want to talk about. Greg Cosell, man, on Texans All Access. If y'all haven't heard this, it was on In the Loop. If y'all don't listen to In the Loop, shame on you. You're fighting an uphill battle when it comes to following the Texans if you're not listening to In the Loop. 10 to 2 Central on Sports Radio 610. Also podcast the whole show, so you can get it on the Odyssey app. Show of record, in my opinion. But this was what Greg Cosell said on Texans All Access. about Anthony Richardson. And I put more stock in this than some broad jump and some combine workout. A guy who watched every play of his in college and a guy who's one of the most credible film study guys in the league. I have AR-15 that, I mean, you could talk me into him being QB3. But this like number 2, I can't get down with it. I could look silly eventually, but I can't get down with it. But listen to Greg Cosell. Don't listen to me. Listen to Greg Cosell.
Richardson is a fascinating guy because, you know, what does Richardson bring to the table? Richardson brings size, a power hose, and he can run. Okay. Beyond that, he doesn't bring anything to the table.
He doesn't bring anything to the table, but that's just the setup. Wait for this.
Now, if every coach I've talked to and said, what's the first thing you look at when you look at a college quarterback? The universal answer I get is accuracy. Richardson is a very inaccurate quarterback. He's scattershot. You don't know. I'm not sure he knows where the ball's going. There's no nuance and subtlety to his game. He does not have a lot of reps in college football. It's easy to say he should have stayed. He chose not to. You have to find out what kind of kid he is. Whatever you want to call it. You know, does he have that? In speaking to a coach today, he told me that you could see that with Josh Allen when you interviewed him when he came out, that you knew there were issues with Josh Allen in terms of accuracy and other things. But after spending time with the kid, you walked away feeling like this kid's got something within him and it's going to come out. You'd have to find that out about Anthony Richardson. I also spoke to another coach who basically told me he was unwatchable.
Ooh,
he is a difficult guy to watch at times,
was.
by the way. Most of the time when you draft quarterbacks high, no matter what teams say, those guys play. He's not Josh Allen to me at all. People say that because of the size and the gun. But to me, he's not Josh Allen. You could make the argument that when you watch him on tape and think a little more conventionally about quarterbacks, that he's not very good at all right now.
Oh, my. That's Greg Cosell. I'll put more stock in that than a broad jump. I think Curtis is saying it right. We don't care about a broad jump. What are we talking about? A broad jump, bro. Broad jump. Like people are saying that with the straight. Oh, my God. He set the record for broad jumps with quarterbacks. Let's go look at that list and see how many of those guys are good quarterbacks. I don't even when's the last time you said, man, I like even the Bryce Young height thing, like I can understand. Like you feel that way or the weight or whatever. Like I can understand that. Have you ever in your life said ever, man, I wonder what he's going to broad jump at the combine for a quarterback? Some of y'all are too damn bored, man. I know it's been a while since we've been able to like talk about quarterbacks, but a broad jump? Seriously? Man, that Ted says he spent some time watching Bryce tape. Seemed like he threw low on many of his misses. Wonder if that is a byproduct of his height. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. What it is a byproduct. I think any mistake that Bryce Young makes is going to be blamed on his height, because people just have that type of thing. So that's where we're at. Tyler giving a scouting report on AR-15. Watched his short passing drill passes look fine, but were slightly behind where the wide receiver had to break. CJ was the only one that looked fluid. Yeah, CJ out through all them fools today. Will Levis, like it's fast, but again, Gosh Allen is what I call Will Levis. I'm not down with Levis either. Like this Levis and Richardson thing, I'm just not down with it. And again, this could end up being like a clip of me looking stupid. It happens with quarterbacks. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm just telling you what I think. Like you could talk me into, and we'll get to CJ in a second. You could talk me into CJ. You could talk me into, you don't have to talk me into Bryce. I think most of you that are on come to the show. Locker Room, by the way, YouTube. Subscribe, prime source for Texans content. We also had the Bryce Young measurement, 5'10" and 1/8. Okay. 204. Okay. 195 was what Kuiper said he needed to see. 9 3/4 inch hands. CJ Stroud had 10-inch hands. So only 1/4 of an inch less than CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. So he does have some bigger hands. By the way, Joe Burrow's hands were 9 inches. So, that was kind of a big deal at the time, but Bryce Young seems to have Big skills. Space Age 713 says, you say that now, Landry, but if he had a bad day, the entire thread kills him. He wasn't going to have a bad day. Like, Anthony Richardson was not going to have a bad day at the combine. Nobody thought that was even a possibility, that he was going to have a bad day at all. It's like when you put in Bryce Young tape and you see what's going on there. People are not talking enough about how much better Bryce is at reading defenses and how much better the accuracy. Yeah, for some reason those traits have gone. Actually being able to read defense and process and all that type of stuff. It's no broad jump. Are the passes 60 miles per hour? That's the question. The Midnight Ace Lock, do you think BY hurt himself by not throwing, especially with his new weight added, or was it too risky? Look, he's going to have his pro day. People are going to love his pro day. Joe Burrow didn't throw. Trevor Lawrence didn't throw. Kyler Murray didn't throw. When you're the undisputed number one top quarterback, a lot of times you just don't throw. So that's, you kind of get the luxury of that every once in a while. When you do that. Texans Mafia, Landry, I've never seen someone be such a hater on someone, bruh. He did his job, and press scouts got eyes on him, and you just hating, bruh. If it ain't Bryce Young, you hating on him. I mean, I'm not hating on anything. He's a good athlete. What do you want me to say? I'm talking about a guy going number 2. That's not hating. I don't have anything wrong with him. I think Bryce Young is the guy. I think he's the dude. I think CJ threw his ass off. I think CJ did his thing. But if you're going to sit there and tell me that a broad jump and a vertical jump is supposed to have me like change my opinion in a 40 time, supposed to change my opinion or like have me lean towards drafting Anthony Richardson over Bryce Young. Yeah, it's that the presentation of that information is going to come across as maybe hating or something, bro. I just said bro because you said it like 3 times. But no, it's not hating. It's just what it is. Like what I don't know what you want, how you want me to react to that that combine. But appreciate the comment. That's a sick ass profile pic too. Much love to that. James talks about Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jig, but man, Jackson, you see Jackson going out there. He didn't run the 40. That's someone who's getting disrespected. Jackson didn't run that 40, but did you see him running those routes? And did you see those? Man, he had an elite day. Elite day. I think he had a couple of the events. He had the best time since 2007 or like top 5 times since 2007. Man, Jackson was out there balling. That's a guy who's getting disrespected. Addison, what did he run? A 4.49? Addison's nice too. I like some of these receivers. I'm not a Quentin Johnston guy, but you talk about Addison, you talk about Smith and Jigba. If you followed this channel, y'all know this. I've been on Marvin Mims for a while. I love Mims at OU. If Caleb Williams doesn't transfer from OU, Marvin Mims is a All-American. And we're talking about that kid, like the hype is there. Like we're talking about, I'm not saying that he's like, but it's not going to be something where you like look closer at him. If Caleb Williams stays at Oklahoma, Marvin Mims is an All-American. And we're sitting there saying, damn, Biletnikoff winner, yada, yada, yada. Good kid. And he's going to be a day 2 guy. And I could see Mims being really, really good. I'm a big fan of him. Brown Chubby Bear, Greg Cosell also said Davis Mills was the most underrated quarterback in the AFC. Just saying. He did like the Davis Mills tape. That is fair. He likes CJ. But yeah, you are right. He was pretty high on Mills. So that's very, very fair. To say the least. Some Texans fan, Johnny Lambert. Bryce has the intangibles that none of these other QBs have. He can read defenses and carve up a secondary better than AR-15. I think a lot of these people play Madden that like AR-15. You can do. I mean, you give someone that skill set in Madden, man. So I think that if you're an AR-15, tell me real quick, Brown Chubby Bear, are you a gamer? You trying to start a Madden franchise? Because if I'm starting a Madden franchise, let's go with AR-15. Give me that. I might trade up to 1 for that. A lot of that going on. I feel like there's like some Madden franchise stuff going on. A lot of Bryce's too small talk. No problem there. Jalen Hyatt did run a 40, 4.40. They said that they were worried about his hammies, though, I heard. There's a lot of 12 talk. The 12's getting crazy. Got to get Jackson at 12. Wouldn't mind it. From Shake Hand Shake 33. Mike says, Landry, we're going to get Bijan at 12. Wouldn't mind it. Let me say those 3 words a lot with them. But let's talk about CJ for a minute. CJ Stroud. He had a lot of people in their feelings because he said this when asked about who he looked up to.
I looked up to Deshaun Watson a lot as somebody I feel like I have a similar playing style to. And then Joe Burrow, being able to create, not being the fastest guy ever, being able to kind of extend plays, throw guys off of you, just be tough. And that's something that I feel like I'll do in this game.
All right, so I don't know that they really play alike. He and Deshaun, I think he's a little bit more of like a pure passer. I don't think he uses his legs as well as Deshaun, which is something that he actually admitted to that we've been talking about for a while. Sid says Jamar Gibbs at 33. I'll say it again, 3 words. Wouldn't mind it. Wouldn't mind it. I had no problem. Like I watched the whole press conference with CJ, and look, there's like 2 realities when it comes to like saying like the name Deshaun Watson. You could say, well, people are just overreacting and, you know, he didn't mean it the way people are taking it. But you also kind of have to be cognizant of that because people are going to do that. And if you're willing to just roll with the punches and not worry about it, then I had no problem with it. But I mean, he was just talking about like looking up to the way he plays. And quite honestly, if you're 22 years old right now and Deshaun Watson was at Clemson winning national championships, 2016? So you take away 6 years. You're 15, 16 years old and you're watching Deshaun Watson. He's also in the same camp or whatever. I mean, it would be hard not to look up to Deshaun, quite honestly. And I mean, if the Deshaun was, I mean, the way that he plays and stuff like that, that's there. And like, I just didn't like of all the things that CJ said, I didn't really like him getting a headline point like that because he seems like a really good dude. And there was another quote that I thought got headline porn from it. What was it? People were kind of crapping on him around here. Do y'all know on the comments? Help me out a little bit. Y'all always do. It was the Bears. So I guess he met with the Bears and he just said, I don't want to go there. That's Justin's team. And some people were taking it as like he was like pulling like a power move of, you know, I'm not going to play there. Dude, he's talking about someone who he looks up to in Justin Fields, who's another Ohio State guy, Buckeye. And he's just saying that I don't want, you know, I feel like he deserves a chance to run and I don't want to go there because I think they should build around Justin. That was all he was saying, but he got kind of headline porn. I had no problem with it. I thought CJ was good. The one thing that I liked the most that I heard from CJ, because people who covered the team talked about it, and people who watched the Buckeyes, like even you would watch CJ and be like, man, he ain't running as much as he should. And you saw it against Georgia. He didn't use his legs as much as he could, despite being able to do it. And he acknowledged that, you know, that was something that he needs to do a little bit more at the next level.
I'll be honest. I told him like I'll tell y'all. I mean, I didn't do it a lot in college, and I feel like I should have, and it's something I do regret.
Preach, baby.
I feel like I could have done it a lot more, but I think if you turn on the film, you really watch what I do, and you really look at film game to game, I have used my athleticism, not only just in the Georgia game, where I did it a lot. I've done it in every other game. I've had tough third down runs. I've had tough fourth down runs. But it is times where I didn't run the ball, or maybe I should have, and I feel like that's something that I learned, and that's what football is about, man. It's about stepping back up to the plate and going back and working hard and fixing those problems. So that's something that I plan to fix, and I show my pro day. I show my athleticism. I show my availability to escape pressure. And I've done it before on film, but since people don't think I can do it, I'm going to do it again.
There you go. So he acknowledged it. Round of applause for CJ. C. Brown Chubby Bear plays Madden. It all makes sense. He's thinking Madden franchise mode with the AR-15. I get it. CJ looked good today, though. He looked really, really good. I like what I saw from CJ. There was nothing unimpressive. TJ's asking, we got the RBs tomorrow. What is Bijan gonna run? I think he'll probably run like a 4-4. I'll go 4-4-3. 4-4-3 maybe. 4-4-2. Bijan, where Bijan gets you is that sidestepping, man. That's the craziest thing. Like he's kind of got the I don't want to say it's as good as JC, Jamal Charles, but like the way that those two guys move to the side, like Jamal Charles was like a hurdler, like he was like a borderline Olympic caliber hurdler. But where they get you is that side. Jamal though, when he just takes off, no, I mean he's unbelievable. The Midnight Ace is asking if I like any of the DBs or D linemen. I mean, there's a lot of D linemen to like. The DBs, I actually think the Texans are kind of straight at DB. I actually think they fixed the secondary pretty good last year. I know they talked to Tomlinson and they're going to probably talk to everybody, but maybe looking at the safeties, I could see them getting one of the SEC safeties, Johnson out of A&M, or the I don't know if there's going to be like elite safety at 33, but sometimes that happens. Sometimes the safety's just not valued. So you see the safety kind of fall. But if, like, let's say Branch falls. Let's say Brian Branch falls to 33. I think you got to do it. And then you just see how you can mess with him and Petrie. Johnson out of A&M, solid. And then I don't know how they're going to – I really don't know what they're going to do with Petrie and what they think is ideal for him. Also in free agency, I don't know, like, could I see them bringing – I don't know if Ward fits at all because he wants to be a free safety, I think, and I don't know if what they think about Petrie. Cap says DB is a big need for this team. Nelson is a bridge. Yeah, I think DB is a big need for this team next year, like when they have the 2-1s. Yeah, because I by then I see Cap's playing chess and I'm kind of playing checkers, which is weird because sometimes like when you discuss draft, you find yourself talking about like immediate needs. But I've always talked about like playing chess where you have a guy that's on the final year of his contract and you draft someone there. So Cap's playing a little bit like the long play. This time next year, if we're just talking about next season and in a rebuild, I think they will play some chess. You're going to have King up. You're going to have, and we don't know what we're going to get from King this year. You're going to have Nelson up. So corner will be one of the bigger needs. So maybe they play some chess there. But I'm just talking about like as far as right now, I don't feel too terrible about the corners. But I do see what Texans Cap is saying. E. Young says I'm biased because I'm an Aggie. You don't have to say you're biased, man. You just have your opinion. It's not that big of a deal. A-Chain is a solid speed complement for Pierce. And yes, he's small, but he has that big dog mentality. He also ran track, so he doesn't have football muscle. Yeah, A-Chain's a badass, man. I don't think you don't have to apologize for liking A-Chain. You don't have to preface it anyway. A-Chain's good. There's a lot of really good backs in this draft. So I don't think you have to apologize. There are a lot of good corners. Do you guys think that the corner is kind of like the wide receiver this year in that Last year, like the corner was like a prime position where we're talking about, two guys going in the top 4. And, we're talking about some other dudes, but this year, like you're seeing corners marked in the top 10 ever so often, but you're not like seeing like people say, oh, this guy's going top 5. And unless I'm missing something, for the most part, I'm not seeing corners go top 5. But once you start getting to like really 10 down, like when you get to 10 down, all of a sudden there's like all these corners. You start talking about Porter and some of the other guys, and the corners, that's where they're getting like all their talk. Same with the receivers. Like I actually think there's a chance that this receiving group is better than last year's, but it's just going to be all about evaluation. Like there's going to be guys coming out of nowhere and we're going to be like, damn, dude, that dude's a badass. Kind of like Jefferson, like the Jefferson draft when you had Jefferson, Rager, all these guys, and he ends up being elite. That's where the receivers are too, and the corners where no one's talking about them really like at the top of the draft, but it seems like once business picks up, that's where it's going to get real wild. The tight ends today, the tight ends are very intriguing. This might be in Cap's talking about CB2 candidates, which, yeah, sign me up for that. I mean, that's some serious chess. I don't know if you're talking day 2. If you're talking day 2 when you got the extra stuff, then we can party there. But the tight ends that was interesting today. There might be a chance that Washington's the first tight end taken. I mean, would that really shock you? Because Washington had a hell of a day today. I mean, at that height and weight, what's he, 6'7", 262? What do you run, a 4.6? And then one of his cone drills was like the second best. I think only Smith and Jigba had a better cone drill than Washington. Washington, I would not be shocked if Washington comes out as the first tight end taken. That there could be like so Washington had the second fastest 20-yard shuttle among wide receivers and tight ends. The only faster time was Smith and Jigba, and he weighs 71 more pounds. 4.65 at 6'7", 260 plus. If you told me like the wide receivers are kind of like this too, but the tight ends are really crazy because you kind of have a sense of when the wide receivers are going to get going, at least at like the latest, like the 10 to 12 range. But the tight ends, like when are the tight ends going to start going? Like when are we going to see the tight ends start going? Because you could tell me that maybe 4 guys could be the first tight end taken. You could tell me that it was going to be Mayer out of Notre Dame. That's probably the betting favorite. Kid out of Utah, Kincaid, Washington, and then Hargrove or whatever from Oregon State. You could tell me that any one of those guys is going to go first, and I would believe you. Not Hargrove, excuse me. I just the tight end is interesting. I don't know when the first one goes. And the wide receiver, you could tell me, I said Musgrave. It's Musgrave. I keep saying Hargrove. Musgrave, excuse me. I might need to get that name right. Could end up being a Texan. But you could tell me any 4 of the tight ends go. Wide receiver, like if you told me, like if let's go through the wide receivers that could be taken first. Addison, Smith and Jigba, Johnston, and Hyatt. Like maybe those 4. Am I missing someone at wide receiver? But the tight end's going to be interesting because we have no idea when that's going to go. No idea. Darnell Washington is a receiving threat and would help the line. He's perfect. He ran a 4.64. The thing about Washington that's even more intriguing is you got to wonder if just his situation didn't allow him to produce as much as maybe as he possibly could have, because they do have Bowers, because they do have a bunch of studs at Georgia, and he maybe just did what he was asked to do, which in the long run could actually make him a better player, a better prospect at the next level. But you just look at the way, like, I don't like the quarterback throwing, and this is just me. Like, I didn't watch Will Levis and Anthony Richardson and say, I feel a lot better about these guys based on the quarterback throwing. But I think when you're watching tight ends and their ball skills and the way that they're catching and stuff in these situations, I do think that that's like something that's more, if you want to talk about like combine overreactions, for lack of a better term, that's where, like, the way that Washington just running around catching the rock one-handed and the routes and the way he's moving, I think I could see him playing himself into, I mean, is he going to go in the late first? Is he going to be like a second? I mean, there's a chance that when we're having this stream, we'll stream draft day 1, and then when we're heading into draft day 2, however we want to do that, get a little hype show, or maybe even stream during the whole damn thing. Who knows? You could be sitting here saying, hey, draft Washington at 33. But I really do wonder who's going to go first. If I had to pick a tight end in this class, golly, it's hard. It's really hard. It would come down, but it would be between Kincaid, Mayer, who's just like the total guy in Washington. And I think Washington has a chance to be the total guy. I think if Washington had gone to Notre Dame, it might be undisputed. So for me, it would be, good Lord, I would probably go with Kincaid, just because I like his receiving skills. And I think if you get like another receiver, tight end that can block, that you'd be good. But it would not hurt my, like, when we start talking about quarterbacks and we say, well, if you don't get this guy, you get that, you can take that guy, you can take that guy. I don't look at quarterbacks like that, especially at 2. At 2, it's, I want this guy, or I don't really want, but I don't want this guy at 2. I want Bryce Young. You can talk me into CJ maybe, but after that, I don't really want one of those guys. But at tight end, like, if you give me any one of those guys, let's eat. Let's eat. Someone says, Big Sarge asked the question to Bijan to come play with Pierce at Houston. Bijan sounded intrigued. Thoughts on taking Bijan at 12 and having the dream team backfield? I mean, I think they need running backs. I think Bijan is an elite player. I think when you have extra picks, you can do that. I think Bijan helps you in a lot of the categories that can help the offense. Unrealized potential at the receiving that wasn't maximized, whether it was due to quarterback play or Sarkisian not getting it done. But Sarge asked him. Bijan's not going to say no. Like, when you ask him, like, he could ask him about anybody, and Bijan was going to say yes. But yeah, I mean, I would love that. Cap says, I think you should do what Cap says. Do what Cap says. Subscribe, helps the algae, as he says. Matt Swift says he's a Washington guy. Can't hate on that. Is Sid saying AR-15 at tight end? What if AR-15's like Taysom Hill 40.0 in like 2 years? Lou O says all 3 tight ends have a chance to be great, but Washington would hype the fan base up more than the other 2. I think the fan base would get pumped about any of those guys, because you're probably taking those guys in the top 33. I I mean, if you get one of those guys with your third or you trade up or something like that, oh well. Bevo McSlapnuts, that's an interesting name, says that you need a tight end that does both. One catches and blocks, makes you predictable. I don't agree with that. Because you have multiple tight ends. And if you just have a tight end that catches really well, then so be it. You find a way to use him. There's a lot of teams that have guys who don't block. Kelsey didn't block that well until recently. He kind of improved a little bit. But Mark Andrews isn't a great blocker. Mark Andrews is basically a wide receiver at tight end, which is what he played in high school. He's one of the top, I think, 30 recruits in the nation at wide receiver. He played with Kyle Allen out there in Arizona. And I don't would you rather have someone that's doesn't receive as good, but blocks a little bit? I don't think so. Just get guys who can do something elite. And if Kincaid is a really, really good receiver, then you can figure out some stuff with blocking. He's got to be serviceable, but I don't need the complete. But if you're looking for the complete, then you're more Washington Mayer than Kincaid. Sager S. Texans executive will also think from business perspective, and there is no pressure to get everything right this season. They have 2 to 3 year windows to get good overall team before second contract. I don't know whether that's true. Or not. Matt says, did AR-15 play with Pierce in college? Yeah, for less 100 snaps or something like that. I think they didn't play a ton, but yeah, they were players. Texas boss, what are your thoughts? Brandon Cooks wouldn't mind for playing for Cooks for Ryans. Who's reporting that? I haven't heard that because I've heard that he's gone. And I mean, I don't pull stuff out of nowhere. I've heard he's gone though, and I think he should be. But I mean, he already said he didn't want to be a part of a rebuild. Brandon Cooks is too weird for me at this point. He wanted to leave when Jack left and all that, but I've heard he's gone. So I don't know. I don't know who reported that at all. Haven't heard anything about Brandon Cooks wanting to play. At all. Bubba Homeschool talking about Jalen Carter, Bijan Robinson, Darnell Washington, Hendon Hooker, Patrick Queen, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike White. This is possible. What do you want Mike White to do? What do you want him to do? That would be my question. Oh yeah, I got to give Gosh Allen his due. We haven't mentioned Gosh Allen yet. Will Levis threw 59 miles per hour. So he threw faster than Mahomes and Herbert. So congratulations there. He also looked pretty jacked, which I'm sure Brown Chubby Bear might have a chubby talking about Will Levis, seeing him in that sleeveless shirt since he's in the combine workout game now. God. Good Lord. Cebu saying the tight end needs to do it all. I think the best ones catch, run routes, and block. I don't think Antonio Gates was a very good blocker. Tony Gonzalez wasn't a great blocker. Jay Novacek definitely wasn't a good blocker. Shan Sharp was a good blocker. Gronk was a good blocker. Kelsey was not a good blocker at first. Zach Ertz doesn't block well. Mark Andrews doesn't block well. They're serviceable, but yeah, don't know. Congrats to the Rockets. They got a dub. But this has been the locker room little combine talk. Probably hop on tomorrow too, get some videos going. We'll talk about these running backs. Let's get into the running backs tomorrow. More in depth. Intrigued to see how they look. It's going to be a really, really interesting running back group. Some interesting names. Day 2 is going to be wild. You're going to start talking about maybe A-Chain, maybe Gibbs falls to day 2. I don't think Bijan makes it there. I wonder, does Deuce Vaughn get drafted on day 2, or does the size kind of prevent him from that? That's going to be really, really, really interesting. So we will check that out. Yes, you are correct. CJ threw 59 as well, but CJ can actually throw a football like in a game. Gosh Allen cannot. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We're going to talk about the running backs. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Subscribe, listen to In the Loop on Sports Radio 610. Business is getting really, really fun. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Hope you guys are having a good weekend, and we'll wrap it up tomorrow talking about them running backs. No matter what happens, though, remember, subscribe, Locker Room on YouTube, through Texans Goggles. No matter what happens, though, we are all in this together. Have a good night, folks.